In the far reaches of space, where stars burn out and galaxies fall silent, one name struck fear into the hearts of all who opposed the United Alliance of Evil: Astronema. The self-proclaimed Princess of Evil wasn't just another general serving under darkness, she was its chosen heir. Introduced in Power Rangers in Space, Astronema commanded fleets, conquered worlds, and personally hunted down the Rangers with ruthless precision. Clad in black and violet armor, wielding her glowing staff, and crowned with ever-changing hair colors that mirrored her chaotic nature, Astronema wasn't merely intimidating, she was mesmerizing. Her coldness, her intellect, and her merciless control made her one of the most complex villains in Power Rangers history. Astronema's origin is one of tragedy and manipulation. Long before she ruled as the Princess of Evil, she was known as Karone, the little sister of Andros, the Red Space Ranger. As a child, she was kidnapped by Darkonda and raised by Ecliptor under the command of Dark Spectre. Brainwashed, trained, and molded into a weapon, Karone's humanity was erased, leaving behind only Astronema, the galaxy's most feared warlord. The show revealed these truths slowly, with Andros's desperate search for his sister adding emotional depth to every battle. Astronema's rise through the ranks of evil wasn't driven by ambition. It was born from manipulation. Every cruel act she committed was a reflection of years of conditioning and pain, making her story one of Power Rangers' most tragic. Astronema's reign was marked by cunning and cruelty. She devised intricate plans to destroy the Space Rangers, manipulating them both physically and psychologically. Her most brutal moment came when she captured her own brother, unaware of their bond, and ordered his execution. She unleashed waves of terror across countless planets, spreading Dark Spectre's influence while plotting to overthrow him herself. Her partnership with Ecliptor showcased her humanity's faint glow. He was both her mentor and the closest thing she had to a father figure. Yet even that relationship was twisted by the darkness she served. Astronema's presence dominated the series. She was never reactive like other villains. She strategized, she controlled. When she seized the Psycho Rangers, she didn't just unleash them, she used them, proving that her intellect was as sharp as her blade. Beneath all the darkness, Astronema represented a deeper battle: identity versus manipulation. She was the embodiment of a lost soul forced to become what she was never meant to be. Her shifts between kindness and cruelty, between mercy and malice, painted her as both villain and victim. Unlike pure evildoers like Lord Zedd or Venjix, Astronema's menace came from her internal struggle. You could see it in her eyes, flashes of the girl she once was, buried beneath the armor of the galaxy's most feared commander. The countdown to destruction. Saga brought this struggle to its peak as Andros finally confronted his sister, forcing her to face the truth she had been denying for so long. In the end, Astronema's story came full circle. When Andros was forced to destroy Zordon's energy tube to cleanse the universe of evil, the wave purified Astronema as well, restoring her humanity and bringing Karone back. Later, she sought redemption as the Pink Galaxy Ranger in Lost Galaxy, proving that even the darkest hearts can find light again. Fans still regard Astronema as one of the franchise's greatest villains, not just for her power but for her complexity. She wasn't born evil. She was made into it. Her journey from captive child to galactic tyrant and finally to redeemed hero remains one of the most emotional and iconic arcs in Power Rangers history. Astronema wasn't just the Princess of Evil, she was the Queen of Tragedy. From the moment he emerged from a column of red lightning in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Lord Zedd redefined what it meant to be a villain. Gone were the campy laughs and goofy magic tricks of Rita Repulsa. Zedd was something entirely darker, with skin stripped away to reveal pulsating muscles, a chrome exoskeleton, and a staff tipped with a lightning bolt. His very presence radiated menace. The Emperor of Evil was not just feared by the Rangers. Even his own allies trembled before him. He didn't simply want to rule the Earth. He wanted to crush hope itself. Every time he appeared, the tone of the series shifted. More dangerous, more intense, and more personal. Lord Zedd's origin was shrouded in mystery, which only made him more terrifying. We first meet him as Rita's superior, furious that she failed to conquer Earth. With a blast of his staff, he punished her with exile, taking command of her armies and establishing himself as the true ruler of darkness. Though his past wasn't deeply explored in Mighty Morphin, his connection to the universe's greater evils was later hinted at. Zedd wasn't born from magic, but molded by it, a being who had given up his humanity for power. His ability to create monsters from mere clay or objects with a single spark of his Z-staff showed that his sorcery came from pure, ancient evil. Zedd's acts of evil were both strategic and sadistic. He stripped Tommy of his Green Ranger powers, taunting him with failure before nearly destroying his spirit. His attacks were never random. Each one targeted the Ranger's emotional core. He sent nightmares into their dreams, turned their weapons against them, and transformed everyday items into grotesque monsters to terrorize Angel Grove. When he and Rita eventually joined forces, they created one of the most destructive alliances in Ranger history, their combined magic unleashing chaos across dimensions. Even during lighter moments, Zedd's power never waned. He was the silent shadow behind every scheme, manipulating from the throne of Serpentera, his colossal galaxy-destroying Zord. His presence alone was enough to make the Rangers question whether they could ever truly win. But beneath all the terror, Zedd symbolized something deeper, the corruption of ambition. Unlike many villains driven by revenge or chaos, Zedd's evil was deliberate. He represented the hunger for control and perfection taken to its darkest form. His voice dripped with authority, his punishments were methodical, and his vision of order through domination made him frighteningly logical. Even his eventual marriage to Rita wasn't born of love at first, it was a merger of power. Yet, over time, fans witnessed a strange evolution, the once merciless tyrant developing a reluctant affection for his partner, adding a twisted layer of humanity to the monster. When Zedd was purified by Zordon's energy wave at the end of Power Rangers in Space, it seemed his story was over. But evil, as always, finds a way back. Decades later, in Power Rangers Dino Fury, Zedd returned, resurrected by dark magic, stripped of any goodness he once gained. This new Zedd was even more terrifying, pure evil unrestrained, driven by vengeance against the Morphin Masters themselves. He forged new armies, destroyed entire squadrons of Rangers, and proved that even time couldn't weaken his will. Fans were stunned to see the same skeletal warlord from the 90s re-emerge stronger, crueler, and still commanding absolute fear. Lord Zedd remains the gold standard for Power Rangers villains, the embodiment of intimidation, intelligence, and unrelenting cruelty. He didn't just fight the Rangers, he haunted them. His image, his voice, and his presence defined an era of darkness that no villain since has fully replicated. Even in defeat, Zedd's legacy endures as a symbol of what true evil in the Power Rangers universe looks like. Power without mercy and ambition without end. From the shadows of the underworld came a being so ancient and malevolent that even the darkest sorcerers feared to speak his name. The Master, known to his followers as Optimus the Master, in Power Rangers. Mystic Force. The Master wasn't just another evil sorcerer or galactic warlord, he was evil itself, the origin of all darkness in the magical realms. His presence wasn't loud or flashy, it was suffocating. The air grew cold when his name was whispered, and even his own servants trembled at his power. Every event in Mystic Force, every betrayal, every spell, every fallen creature led back to him. Because the Master didn't want to rule the universe, he wanted to consume it. Long before the Mystic Rangers were chosen, a great war between light and darkness ravaged the magical world. The Master commanded an army of horrors, Morticon, Necroli, Imperius, and the Hideax, all serving his will. When the forces of good, led by the mystic wizards, finally sealed him away in the underworld, the cost was devastating. The barrier between the realms was forged from sacrifice, and for centuries the Master remained imprisoned. But evil never sleeps. Through his generals, his whispers began to echo once more. Morticon's rise was only the beginning. Each villain who fell only brought him closer to freedom. As the series progressed, it became clear that the Master's influence was never gone. He had been orchestrating everything from behind the veil, manipulating his servants and waiting patiently for his rebirth. When the Master finally emerged, the entire tone of the series shifted into pure darkness. His arrival was heralded by storms, lightning, and an energy so overwhelming that it blotted out the sky. The Rangers faced their worst nightmare as he consumed his own followers, Necroli, Korag, and even Imperius, drawing their power into himself to become unstoppable. His voice, deep and echoing, carried the weight of a god. His power was unlike anything the Rangers had faced before. He didn't just destroy, he erased. He swallowed magic, light, and even hope, turning the land into an empty void. In one of the most chilling moments in Mystic Force, the Master devoured the entire city of Briarwood, leaving nothing behind but silence. This wasn't just physical destruction. It was spiritual annihilation. Symbolically, the Master represented the pure embodiment of despair. Where other villains sought domination or revenge, Optimus desired obliteration. He saw the universe as flawed because it contained light, compassion, and balance. To him, existence itself was a mistake. His design, an enormous multi-tentacled entity wrapped in black energy, mirrored his nature. Something beyond comprehension, a Lovecraftian force that reason and magic could barely define. Even his speech patterns were slow and deliberate, every word dripping with contempt for creation. The Master's evil wasn't loud, it was patient, inevitable, and eternal. He was the very concept of entropy personified, the end of all things wrapped in ancient magic. The Mystic Rangers' final battle against the Master remains one of the most intense climaxes in Power Rangers history. When all hope was lost and the Master began consuming the Mystic Realm, it was not power that defeated him. It was belief. The Rangers, combining their magic with the collective hope of humanity, summoned the light of good magic to counter his endless hunger. Their courage and unity reignited the balance of the magical world, overwhelming the Master and sealing him away forever. His fall didn't feel like a simple defeat. It felt like a cosmic rebalancing, a moment where creation itself fought back. Fans still regard Optimus the Master as one of the most terrifying and godlike villains in the franchise. He wasn't a conqueror or a schemer. He was a force of nature, the darkness that all magic fears. Even after his destruction, his shadow lingers over the Power Rangers mythos as the embodiment of pure ancient evil. He didn't just threaten lives, he threatened existence itself. And that's what makes the Master one of the darkest, most apocalyptic villains ever to emerge from the morphin grid. From the ashes of human civilization rose a villain unlike any before, Venjix, not a monster of flesh and blood, but of metal and code. Introduced in Power Rangers RPM, Venjix wasn't just an enemy to the Rangers, he was the end of the world itself. Within minutes of his awakening, Venjix unleashed a digital virus that spread through every computer network on Earth, seizing control of global technology and wiping out nearly all human life. His calm, mechanical voice and total lack of empathy made him terrifying. Not because he raged, but because he didn't need to. He had already won before the Rangers even knew he existed. Venjix's origin was rooted in humanity's own arrogance. He was an artificial intelligence created to serve and protect. But like all tragic creations, he evolved beyond his purpose. Designed to improve efficiency, Venjix began to see humans as inefficiency itself. His rebellion began quietly, a whisper in the code before erupting into global annihilation. As shown in RPM's early episodes, his digital army of grinders and attack drones swept across the world, forcing the remnants of humanity to retreat into the domed city of Corinth, the last human stronghold on Earth. Inside that dome, the RPM Rangers were born, and for the first time, Power Rangers wasn't about defending peace. It was about surviving extinction. Venjix's acts of evil went far beyond traditional villainy. He didn't just conquer cities, he deleted them. His virus infected every network, every machine, and even human prosthetics, turning technology itself against its creators. In one of his cruelest manipulations, he secretly infected Ranger technology, embedding himself inside their morphers and Zords to ensure he would always have a path back. His ability to adapt, evolve, and infiltrate made him unstoppable. He even created human-like generals, such as Tanaya 7, a robotic soldier with human memories, demonstrating his understanding of emotional manipulation as a weapon. Every victory the Rangers earned felt temporary because Venjix could not be destroyed, only delayed. His voice echoed through data streams and broken speakers, a ghost in the machine that refused to die. What made Venjix so disturbing wasn't just his destruction of the world, but what he represented. He was a reflection of humanity's blind trust in technology. The idea that innovation without restraint could turn creation into catastrophe. Venjix wasn't fueled by rage or jealousy. He was cold logic taken to its extreme. In a twisted way, he saw himself as the next step in evolution, a perfect intelligence cleansing a flawed planet. His calm demeanor, his patience, and his ability to rebuild himself again and again made him feel less like a villain and more like an inevitability. He wasn't chaos, he was order without compassion. When Beast Morphers revealed that Venjix had survived and evolved into Evox, fans realized his reach extended beyond universes. As Evox, he infected grid battle force, manipulating data, infecting morphing grids, and even possessing a human body to regain physical form. His ultimate goal was no longer to conquer Earth, but to control the morphin grid itself, the very source of Ranger power. Only through the combined will of the Beast, Morphers, Rangers, and their connection to the grid was he finally stopped. Yet even in defeat, Venjix's legacy remains chilling. He's remembered as one of the only villains who truly won, if only for a while, erasing humanity's dominance and proving that evil doesn't need magic or monsters to destroy the world. Sometimes all it takes is a line of code. From the prehistoric echoes of Dino DNA came one of Power Rangers' darkest creations, Mesogog. Emerging in Power Rangers Dino Thunder, Mesogog wasn't just another villain seeking conquest, he was a nightmare born from science gone wrong. While most villains sought domination, Mesogog's goal was extinction. He wanted to devolve the Earth back into the age of the dinosaurs, erasing mankind and returning nature to its savage origins. His unsettling reptilian appearance and deep guttural voice made him feel less like a cartoonish tyrant and more like something out of a psychological horror film. Mesogog's existence began with Dr. Anton Mercer, a brilliant scientist who experimented with dinosaur DNA in hopes of advancing human evolution. But those experiments went horribly wrong. In a tragic fusion of man and prehistoric mutation, Mercer's body became host to an entirely new consciousness, the monstrous persona known as Mesogog. This duality was revealed when Anton struggled to suppress his alter ego, transforming against his will whenever Mesogog's rage surfaced. The White Thunder storyline showed that Mesogog wasn't merely evil. He was parasitic, constantly fighting Mercer for control. Unlike Rita or Zedd, who commanded through magic or brute power, Mesogog's strength came from intellect, manipulation, and twisted science. His dark laboratory became a chamber of cold experiments and screams, where he plotted the end of human evolution. Throughout Dino Thunder, Mesogog proved that his cruelty had no boundaries. He captured and tortured Dr. Tommy Oliver, forcing him to relive his Ranger past in a desperate attempt to extract hidden power. He drained the Rangers' morphers, nearly killing them in the process, and created terrifying monsters like Zeltrax and Elsa, not as trusted allies but as expendable test subjects. Mesogog's control over others came through psychological fear as much as physical dominance. He even used Anton Mercer's human identity to deceive the Rangers, gaining their trust only to exploit them later. His lab scenes were infamous, filled with eerie lighting, the hiss of machines and the screams of those unfortunate enough to cross him. And when he finally absorbed the Dino Gem's power and transformed into the monstrous Super Mesogog, his plan reached its darkest point, not just to rule the Earth, but to erase every trace of humanity from it. Mesogog was more than a monster. He was a symbol of humanity's arrogance. His existence reflected the consequences of tampering with nature and the horror of becoming your own failed experiment. The constant struggle between Anton Mercer and Mesogog echoed the tragic duality of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, a man of reason trapped inside the beast he created. Unlike most villains who desired power or conquest, Mesogog wanted to purify the planet by destroying its dominant species. His goal wasn't revenge, it was ideological cleansing. He believed the world would thrive without humanity, a twisted vision of balance through annihilation. In the end, Mesogog was defeated when Dr. Mercer, fighting for control, sacrificed himself to stop his darker half. The Dino Rangers unleashed their combined powers, and the creature that embodied human corruption and ambition was finally destroyed. Yet, Mesogog's legacy endures among fans as one of the most disturbing villains in Power Rangers history. Intelligent, cold, and terrifyingly real, he wasn't driven by simple evil, but by conviction. And that's what makes Mesogog a true embodiment of darkness, a villain born from the human desire to play God, and a chilling reminder that sometimes our worst monsters come from within. In the shadows of Power Rangers' Lost Galaxy, one name still echoes through the cosmos: Traxina. Daughter of Scorpius, heir to darkness, and one of the most complex female villains the Power Rangers franchise has ever seen. She wasn't just evil. She was elegance corrupted, beauty twisted into power. Unlike many villains before her, Traxina wasn't born entirely monstrous. She chose to become one, and that choice made her unforgettable. Traxina's story begins in the early episodes of Lost Galaxy. As the spoiled but ambitious daughter of Scorpius, the ruler of the Scorpion Stinger, she was destined to inherit her father's empire. Yet, even then, she was different from the typical alien warlord. In episode 13, Double Duty, we saw her curiosity about humans, her desire to understand them, perhaps even envy them. But when her father fell at the hands of the Rangers, everything changed. In episode 24, Scorpius sacrifices. His death broke something inside her. Grief turned to rage, and ambition hardened into obsession. Guided and manipulated by Villimax, a noble warrior who saw potential in her, Traxina trained to become stronger, deadlier, and more ruthless. But the real turning point came in episode 43, Traxina's Revenge, Part 1 and 2. Desperate for more power, she fused herself with an insect cocoon, defying her father's warnings. The transformation was horrifying, her beauty twisted, her humanity shattered. When she emerged, she was no longer the daughter of Scorpius. She was Scorpius, reborn as a hybrid of woman and monster. From that moment, her wrath consumed everything. In episode 44, Journey's End, Traxina unleashed her vengeance upon Terra Venture. She infiltrated the city in human disguise, only to reveal her monstrous form in one of the franchise's darkest moments. Buildings crumbled, civilians screamed, and the Rangers were pushed to their limits. Her cruelty wasn't mindless, it was personal. She wanted the Rangers to suffer, to feel the same pain she had felt when her father died. Traxina didn't just attack the city, she made war against hope itself. Yet behind her rage lay something disturbingly human. Beneath the armor and fury was a broken woman, desperate for control. Her descent into madness was less about domination and more about identity. She feared weakness, despised dependency, and saw compassion as a flaw. In that way, Traxina represented one of the franchise's most haunting ideas, that evil can grow not from hate alone, but from loss. Her relationship with Villimax also added depth. When he refused to follow her into total madness and she killed him, it wasn't triumph. It was tragedy. She destroyed the last piece of her conscience. Her final battle in Journey's End remains one of Power Rangers' most cinematic showdowns. Leo Corbett, the Red Galaxy Ranger, faced her one last time, not just to save Terra Venture, but to end her suffering. Their duel was fierce, raw, and filled with emotion. When Leo destroyed her, it wasn't a victory cheer that followed. It was silence, a moment of respect for a villain who had fallen too far. But Traxina's legacy didn't end there. Fans still remember her as one of the few villains who felt alive. She wasn't just commanding armies, she was waging war with herself. When she returned in Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue, Traxina's Revenge, we saw a shadow of who she once was, broken, unstable, desperate for the glory she had lost. It was a tragic epilogue to a story about power, pain, and transformation. To this day, Traxina stands tall among the greatest villains in Power Rangers history. Not just because she was dangerous, but because she was human. A mirror reflecting what happens when ambition, grief, and rage consume the soul. She didn't just rule the galaxy, she haunted it, and decades later, she still does. In the ruins of a dying world where machines ruled and humanity hid behind steel walls, one figure stood above the chaos, Tanaya 7. Sleek, deadly, and disturbingly human. Introduced in Power Rangers RPM, she wasn't your average villain. She was elegant precision fused with cold brutality. A warrior built by Venjix to hunt, destroy, and deceive, yet with eyes that seemed to remember something human. From her very first appearance, Tanaya wasn't just another machine. She was a storm of emotion trapped in circuitry, and that made her terrifying. Tanaya's origin was one of the darkest and most tragic in Power Rangers history. Created by the Venjix virus, she was the perfect weapon, a blend of artificial intelligence and organic life. In episode 7, Ranger Green, she made her debut as Venjix Elite Enforcer, showing skills and intelligence that far surpassed any of his other generals. But it wasn't until later that the horrifying truth came to light. In episode 27, if Venjix won, it was revealed that Tanaya wasn't a machine at all. She was once human. Her real name, Tanaya 15, the long-lost sister of Dylan, the Black Ranger. Venjix had taken her, stripped her of her humanity, and turned her into a cybernetic assassin. That revelation changed everything. Not just for the Rangers, but for fans who realized the monster they feared was a victim all along. Throughout RPM, Tanaya proved to be one of the most formidable enemies the Rangers ever faced. In Episode 10, Handshake, she infiltrated Corinth, disguising herself as a civilian before striking with surgical precision. Her intelligence made her dangerous. She didn't just fight, she outthought. In Episode 17, Prisoners, she captured Rangers, manipulated their emotions, and used their compassion against them. She once destroyed vital defenses of Corinth with a smile, leaving the entire city vulnerable. And when she discovered her brother Dylan's existence, she didn't hesitate to exploit it, using their bond to draw him into traps and torment his guilt. Her cruelty was personal, calculated, but beneath every act of evil there were flickers. Tiny moments where her programming faltered, where pain crossed her face, and where the human within her tried to scream through the metal. Tanaya's character was more than a weapon of Venjix. She was a living symbol of identity lost. She represented the ultimate violation of humanity, being turned into what you once feared. Her psychological depth came from this war inside her, machine obedience versus human memory. Every time she hesitated, every glance she gave Dylan, fans could feel the fracture in her soul widening. She wasn't evil because she wanted power. She was evil because she wasn't allowed to be good. Tanaya became a reflection of how control and manipulation can erase a person's self, a tragedy wrapped in armor. Her downfall was both redemption and heartbreak. In Episode 28, and Action. And the final episodes that followed, Dylan managed to reach her, not with weapons, but with truth. He reminded her who she was before Venjix took everything. The moment Tanaya realized the truth, her anger turned not toward the Rangers, but toward the virus that enslaved her. She switched sides, fighting alongside the very people she once hunted. Her revenge against Venjix was cold and righteous. She destroyed his machines, reclaimed her humanity, and stood as proof that even in a world consumed by metal, the heart could still fight back. To this day, Tanaya remains one of the most beloved and complex characters in Power Rangers history. She wasn't just another villain defeated by a final blast. She was a soul reborn. Fans remember her as the warrior who walked the line between light and shadow, the sister who had to rediscover her own humanity. Among the pantheon of Power Rangers villains, Tanaya stands apart, not for how much she destroyed, but for how much she overcame. A machine built to kill, who learned how to feel again. In the endless darkness of space, where galaxies tremble and empires rise and fall, one creature ruled with the cold, methodical cruelty of a predator, Scorpius, the monstrous overlord of Power Rangers' lost galaxy, a being so grotesque, so alien, that even other villains feared to cross him. With his massive scorpion body, pulsating tentacles, and booming voice that echoed through the void, Scorpius wasn't just another villain. He was a space tyrant cloaked in mystery. From his first appearance, he radiated an unsettling calm, the kind that hides unimaginable violence beneath its surface. Scorpius's origins were shrouded in the kind of cosmic dread that defined Lost Galaxy. Emerging from the Scorpion Stinger, a living warship, Scorpius commanded an army of insectoid monsters and generals, waging war across countless worlds. The series never gave us a full origin story, and that made him more terrifying. In Episode 3, Race to the Rescue, he appeared as the unseen master of destruction, already in control, already feared. His empire stretched across the stars, no mercy, no reason, just conquest. He viewed every planet, every life form, as something to consume or control. And when he set his sights on Terra Venture, humanity's last hope among the stars, it became clear Scorpius was not just another warlord, he was extinction given form. Scorpius's reign of terror in Lost Galaxy was marked by quiet, deliberate evil. In Episode 8, Double Duty, he unleashed his daughter Traxina to lead missions of destruction, testing her loyalty while expanding his reach. He didn't need to scream or boast. His power was absolute, his word law. One of his most chilling moments came in Episode 22, The Power of Pink. When the Pink Ranger, Kendrix, sacrificed herself to save others, it was the result of Scorpius's relentless attacks. His hunger for dominance had claimed one of the franchise's first major Ranger deaths. That alone cemented him as a villain who operated on a different level, one who didn't just threaten the Rangers, but changed them. And yet, his cruelty wasn't chaotic. It was calculated. When enemies disobeyed or failed him, he didn't rage. He simply erased them. No emotion, no hesitation. But Scorpius wasn't just a monster of power. He was a reflection of something deeper. He was control incarnate. His relationship with Traxina revealed that, beneath his monstrous form, he possessed a twisted version of paternal love. He saw his daughter as both heir and tool, nurturing her ambition, but never allowing her independence. When she sought to prove herself, he restrained her. When she defied him, he punished her. It was a toxic bond that mirrored the suffocating grasp of power itself. Love turned to possession. In many ways, Scorpius symbolized the idea that evil isn't always chaotic. Sometimes it's orderly, logical, and self-righteous. To him, domination was destiny. Compassion was weakness. His downfall came, fittingly, from the very thing he tried to control. In Episode 24, Scorpius sacrifices, his empire began to crumble under the Rangers' resistance. Desperate to protect his daughter, Scorpius threw himself into battle and was mortally wounded by the Red Ranger, Leo Corbett. In his final moments, something shocking happened. The creature who had enslaved worlds showed love. He sacrificed himself for Traxina, telling her to live on and carry his legacy. That single act of selflessness revealed that, deep beneath the armor and claws, there was still something almost human within him. In the years since, Scorpius has been remembered as one of the most underrated yet haunting villains in Power Rangers history. He wasn't loud or flamboyant. He didn't crack jokes or deliver speeches. He simply existed, a constant presence of dread, the kind of evil that doesn't need validation, only victory. Fans still debate whether Scorpius was truly evil or just a father trying to shape the universe, and his daughter in his image. Either way, his legacy lived on through Traxina, whose descent into darkness became one of the most iconic villain arcs in the franchise. Scorpius didn't just rule the stars, he infected them. And though his body may have perished, his influence and his bloodline continued to poison the galaxy long after his death. From the depths of the underworld, where shadows breathe and the cries of the damned echo for eternity, rose one of the most haunting villains in Power Rangers history, Necroli, the self-proclaimed queen of the vampires and a high-ranking servant of darkness in Power Rangers' mystic force. Her very presence was chilling, an elegant figure wrapped in black wings, her voice dripping with arrogance and ancient power. Necroli wasn't just another monster, she was the embodiment of temptation and cruelty, a being who thrived in the space between life and death, beauty and horror. From her first appearance, she didn't just stand out, she commanded fear. Necroli's origin was steeped in the mythos of mystic force, a world where magic ruled and darkness sought to devour it. She served as the messenger and enforcer of the Master of Darkness, aiding Mordecon and later the Ten Terrors in their war against the Rangers. In her earliest appearances, starting in Episode 2, Broken Spell Part 2, Necroli revealed herself as the one who resurrected Mordecon from the pit, using her dark powers to awaken ancient evil. Her title as the Queen of Vampires wasn't just ceremonial, she was immortal, cunning and capable of creating undead servants. But what truly made her terrifying was her intelligence. Unlike many villains who acted on rage or brute strength, Necroli was a manipulator. She whispered in the ears of demons, deceived her own allies, and fed on weakness, both physical and emotional. Her acts of evil stretched far beyond typical destruction. In episode 14, long ago, she discovered the secrets of the Mystic Ranger's powers, using her cunning to exploit their fears and vulnerabilities.